Hi, everyone. I am Stephanie Dyer, and this is Escape Into a Cause, the podcast for busy people in Central Texas who want to do more for their community but don't always know where to start. Today, we've got an episode focused on a cause that's quite literally saving lives in our own backyard. I'm sitting down with Nick Canedo, Vice President of Community Engagement at We Are Blood, the nonprofit responsible for providing the blood and platelets for hospitals across Central Texas. They are the source. If someone in our region needs blood, it's We Are Blood making it possible. And good news, your wallet can stay exactly where it is. For once, the primary ask is not donations, although you can still do that. What We Are Blood needs most is you. Your time, your blood, your willingness to help keep our community supply strong in a city that's growing faster than the pace of donations. Nick talks through how blood donation actually works. He also explains something many people might not know is that nonprofits, not hospitals, not the government, thank goodness, given the recent shutdown, or we would be in a lot of trouble, are the ones coordinating and delivering the blood supply. Nick brought the facts, but he also brought a lot of moving stories that will no doubt inspire you to go give blood. Whether the inspiration comes from saving a life or hearing how a community shows up in a time of need, you'll want to listen. But first, Courtney and I shift into a topic we both care deeply about. Why is purpose-driven work so undervalued? And we focus a bit on teachers. If we want a healthier, more productive economy and fewer massive gaps for nonprofits to fill, then our education system and the people holding it up can't be treated like an afterthought. Also, Court said to fact-check her story on Brentwood Elementary School closing down. It's a good thing she said that. It was a different school. I'm not sure which she was talking about, but the story was real. Here's the latest on schools closing in Austin next fall. The latest was just released on November 4th. Schools closing include Barrington Elementary, Becker Elementary, Dawson Elementary, Oak Springs Elementary, Ridgetop Elementary, Sunset Valley Elementary, Whiten Elementary, Betachek Middle School, Martin Middle School, and Wynn Montessori Schools. So those are 10 schools closing down next fall. And there are 3 schools that are no longer closing that were in discussion, and that is Briker Woods Elementary, Maplewood Elementary, and Palm Elementary. So those schools are no longer closing. We need to show up as a community. What do we value? What do we want to invest in? And what are we willing to sustain? And with that, let's get into it. Hey, Court.
Hey, Steph.
Welcome to today, where we are going to talk about why do we undervalue purpose-driven work?
Oh, okay. I'm excited.
Yeah, because we did talk about your mom, who was a teacher.
My mom, high school English teacher for 23 years.
For 23 years.
I know. She loved it. She loved her students. Her students still talk to her.
Oh my gosh.
I know.
So as a kid, I always played teacher. Did you play teacher?
Oh, yeah. I loved playing teacher and like having the class be like my cousins. They would come to my house for a week and we would have school every day because that's what you want to do in the summer. But I loved it because I wanted to have a class. I wanted to teach. And
I think it's where also a lot of people like me that are in my careers go, okay, if I can retire and go be a professor.
Said it many times. I also know a lot of business leaders who have chosen to do adjunct at the UT. I get to go to a class every year at the law school. I know 2 lawyers, they're in-house counsel. That is their full-time jobs, but they teach a class at UT Law and it's about in-house careers. And I think it's, I don't know, maybe once a week, maybe twice a week, pass fail at the law school, but they get exposure to in-house careers, which is really cool to me because we didn't even talk about that at where I went to law school. It was either government or big firm, but they'll bring in guest lecturers. And so I've gone twice and it's awesome. It's awesome.
Good.
Because you're like,
you are probably such a fantastic
sharing knowledge
guest
and
lecturer.
you're so sweet. It's really lovely just to see. They are eager to learn. They are focused. They are driven and they're super appreciative that we come in to share our words of wisdom.
Where was this at?
UT Law. Yeah, Texas Law.
I went to UT. I've gone 3 times. I've done a panel.
Yep.
I did a one-time interview, and I also did industry night for our
Very
accounting
cool. Yes.
students, even though I'm not even in accounting anymore.
Yeah.
But just to show that you can go in a totally different direction.
Yeah.
10 years into my career, I pivoted.
And I think people love hearing that message. Okay, I don't need to know. I don't have to decide my life right now. No.
Yeah, it's daunting.
It's very daunting.
Okay, so how valuable do you think education is to our country and GDP?
Probably not.
You don't think so?
No.
You don't think it's valuable for GDP?
Oh, to the GDP? Or do I think we invest enough in it?
No.
Oh, okay. I'm like, we don't. I can tell you that.
That's a very different question.
Texas is a
Let me restate my question. Yeah. How valuable do you think like a proper education is to contributing later in life to our country's GDP?
It's everything.
I think it's everything.
Everything. Yeah.
I think you can have the people that go around talking about how you don't need a college degree. I agree, you don't need a college degree. But let's talk about starting in preschool, starting in K through 12, post undergrad, post grad. Yeah. These are all significant to our GDP. However, we still undervalue.
Absolutely. And underinvest.
Underinvest.
I completely agree. And education, like they've shown over and over when it comes to generational wealth and breaking the ties of systemic poverty, education's number one. Number one on if you could just provide quality education to these individuals, they would find themselves a way out of the cycle. Yeah.
We would probably have less money going into these programs to help get people out of housing insecurity, food insecurity, right?
Yes.
However, teachers, social workers, nonprofit workers are underpaid, under-resourced.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So just have some stats here. K through 12 grade, highly educated. 97% of our K through 12 grade teachers hold a bachelor's degree. 58% hold a graduate degree. I'm amazed by how many of my children's teachers have masters.
Yeah.
But there's known as a teacher pay penalty. It increased to 26% in 2022, which means that a teacher earns 74 cents for every dollar that a comparable worker with the same education makes, which is the largest gap since the 1960s. Societies, of course, rely on teachers to educate the next generation. And I think teachers was the easiest way to start this conversation. But it really speaks volumes when you also extend that to social workers, which data says that they make 30% less than comparable workers. And then, of course, the nonprofit sectors, nonprofit human service professionals with postgraduate degrees. Nonprofit employees make on average $70,000 a year. Public sector, $98,000. Private sector, $110,000. So why do you think this is?
First off, I'm so disappointed by those numbers. And there's something wrong with the value that we attribute to these jobs, right? Think about movies, think about books, think about just common discussion, and you hear someone is CFO, CEO, right? Like these terms, lawyer, doctor, like we attribute like just great respect to these individuals simply because of titles or societal norms. And then you hear teacher and social work, and the immediate response is, thank you for the work that you do, as if they are volunteers, right? And we are either saying, I'm so sorry you get paid so little for what you do, and we just appreciate that you hang in there and show up to work every day. But at some point, we have flipped the value that we should apply and attribute to these roles because, with education being such a critical part of the prosperity of people in a country, teachers should be at the top of the list in terms of pay, benefits, respect, and yet they're not.
They're not. And I think this is a topic that matters in the nonprofit space as well, because I do think there'd be less charity if our education system was stronger.
I completely agree.
And I think that starts with paying and valuing those that are responsible for our children's education more. Yeah.
We both have children in Eanes ISD, which is known to be one of the top public school districts in the state. It's why we moved there. And yet we are one of the lowest paying districts when it comes to the salaries given to our teachers, which just kills me. And I am thankful that they come to work every day because they're woefully underpaid and in a district that has higher income residents. And yet the money is not following their pockets. It's going to property taxes or it's going to recapture, right, into other school districts, which I appreciate to some degree. I do think it is imbalanced to the detriment of these school districts that are sending away their tax dollars. But I remember sitting involved in our PTA at our school. And so I get to go to meetings with our superintendent and the PTA leaders of the other schools in the district. And there was this woman, and she wasn't wrong, but I also was bothered by her message, which was all of the parents need to start paying more. They need to start donating more. They need to get involved in our foundation more, which is obviously filling the gap due to recapturing. And her statement was, and it will sit with me forever. It was just one of those things. And actually the person next to me wrote it down in her notebook, but it said, you cannot expect an exceptional education for free. And I want to be like, yeah, actually you can, and you should. But her point being like, the state's not going to step in. We're going to have to step in. And if we don't step in, it will be a mediocre education and experience for your students. Oh my God.
Okay, so what if we start tying, who does education help out most? It helps for-profit companies, right?
Sure.
A lot.
Yeah, absolutely.
The reason I mention this is because I think a lot of businesses are against increasing their taxes. I think this is where
we were talking about Prop Q. Yeah.
We were just talking about Prop Q and how there's that one line item specifically that's from the city of Austin that wants to increase our property taxes to go to certain services. What if there was an incremental tax that specifically went to education in this country that companies paid?
Right. I love that idea.
Yeah, I think
it's a business tax.
It's a business tax, and it's
benefiting education.
It's a return on investment to these businesses in the future.
Yes. I think it's a brilliant idea.
I just think there needs to be a specific line that adds that 1% or whatever it may be.
Yep.
And they've helped fund our education.
Yeah.
Anyway.
It's fantastic. I think you should run for office, Steph.
Thank you, Courtney.
You're so welcome. But yes, there needs to be additional investment. Austin ISD is closing 13 schools.
Yes.
Is it 13 or
and
17?
Then we just saw Eanes closed
one school. We're seeing schools close. Now, that is also due to lower enrollment as we're seeing this demographic cliff, which is a real thing. Our generation is having fewer children, but it's also the deficit in budget. And the result is closing schools, really good schools. I was talking to a mom just last week. I don't want to lie, and so we'll fact check, but I think it's Brentwood Elementary. Anyway, it's a fabulous little school. The family communities around it are just in love with the school and support it and hold it up, and it's closing, and the families are just devastated, and now they're going to go to overcrowded schools that are not near them. She actually has to go across 35.
Oh, it's so disappointing as a parent to experience that.
Yes. And so they're doing everything they can and using their voices. And I just told her, your children are so proud of you. They see this, Mom. Even if it doesn't work, they see you advocating for their school. But it's devastating.
Yeah, we do need more corporations, more billionaires to step up in these ways. And I know you do see a lot of beautiful things like paying for higher education, but we really need to think about those folks that won't ever go to higher education. How do we really solidify and create that foundation in K through 12?
Yep. Agreed. And in the state of Texas, unfortunately, you're seeing even more depressed support in terms of our public school districts as we commit to vouchers.
That's right.
Yeah.
Okay. Maybe there's a light at the end of the tunnel that we're just not seeing right now, but I think it's a dark time for public school funds. And I have sensed it from teachers that since COVID, they've been pretty vocal.
Gosh, man, talk about a community that took a beating during COVID. Gosh.
I know.
Yeah. So anything that we can do, because to your point, I think it would absolutely solve a lot of the critical need that we see in this country. And I think we'd have to stand up a lot less organizations supporting those needs if education was there.
I agree.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks, Court.
Thanks, Steph.
We'll be right back. Escape into a Cause is sponsored by Nightlight Insurance Agency. You know how a nightlight gives you comfort and peace of mind in the dark? That's exactly what Nightlight aims to do. Guide you through life's uncertainties with personalized insurance for your home, auto, business, and more. Nightlight Insurance strives to provide its clients the best coverage at the best price without sacrificing on customer service. Here's what one client had to say. Nightlight was able to lower our car insurance significantly, answered all our questions, and returned our calls promptly. Very professional, would highly recommend. So it's no surprise Nightlight has a 5-star rating on Google. Nightlight also makes this podcast possible by covering production costs so all other sponsorship dollars and gifts can go directly to nonprofits and volunteers. And as part of their mission to give back, Nightlight proudly donates $1,000 to every nonprofit we interview. If you are a sponsor interested in giving back to our podcast, please find us on social media and let us know. Nightlight is an agency focused on personalized service and giving back. See how much you could save and how good it feels to have peace of mind by visiting nightlightinsurance.com. Welcome, Nick Canedo, Vice President of Community Engagement at We Are Blood. Hi, Nick.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming. I appreciate you being here. What is We Are Blood? What do y'all do?
So We Are Blood is the nonprofit blood center serving Central Texas. We've been around since 1951. Today, we're the sole supplier of blood donations to over 50 hospitals, clinics, and EMS agencies performing blood transfusions for local patients. So we operate donor centers, host mobile blood drives, basically try to inspire the community to give back by giving blood.
That's fantastic. And 50 hospitals, you said, and growing. And that is in Central Texas.
Yeah, so we're an exclusively Central Texas nonprofit. We're actually, like I mentioned, founded in 1951 by the Travis County Medical Society to establish and protect a stable blood supply here so that physicians could perform blood transfusions. Today, we supply blood to all the St. David's hospitals in the area, all the Baylor Scott and White hospitals in the area, Ascension Seton hospitals, including Dell Children's, the 2 campuses they have now, and even the Texas Children's Hospital that has opened a location in North Austin.
Okay, great. Your nonprofit's a little unusual in the fact that listeners and anyone who wants to help, probably less of a financial need as some other nonprofits and more of a blood donor and volunteer need. Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely. So, of course, we do accept charitable financial gifts, but really the way we're looking to engage with the community is to inspire them to either become blood donors, volunteers, or potentially host a blood drive.
Okay, we're going to get into that. So, Nick, how can people engage and how can people show up?
The easiest way to give back with We Are Blood is, of course, becoming a blood donor. And so we see around 30,000 unique blood donors every single year, and we're collecting donations every day. We need to collect around 200 donations daily to meet the local patient need in our community. So to look for an appointment to donate, you can go to weareblood.org and find a location at one of our 4 brick and mortar donor centers, or mobile blood drives that are being hosted by companies, schools, churches, and even neighborhoods across our community. We host around 100 mobile blood drives a month. We want to make blood donation as convenient and as accessible as possible. Basic requirements to donate are you need to be at least 17 years old and weigh at least 115 pounds. So it's a really great way to give back and also a brief part of your day.
You told me about this before the call, is that 99% of hospitals rely on nonprofit organizations for their blood. Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely. So maybe a long time ago, a hospital might operate its own blood bank, collect donations, process tests, and then have blood on hand for their patients. But the model that the hospital world is in now is that they rely on an independent nonprofit organization like We Are Blood does for Central Texas to do all that with them, to engage with the community, inspire them, process the blood, test, inventory, and distribute it. So we're responsible for all the hospitals in the Central Texas area. But if you were to look in every area across Central Texas, there's a regional blood center that we're partners with that supplies to those areas. We supply over 70,000 blood products a year to be able to ensure that local patients can receive that care. And routine needs for blood transfusions are traumas, of course, surgery patients, cancer patients who are receiving transfusions throughout the regular course of their treatments, and even mothers and newborns who are experiencing complications during birth. We've seen the need for blood products to make transfusions happen skyrocket in our Central Texas community. We're all very familiar with how our community has been growing, population growth, but along with that, more transfusions have been needed because we're talking about more trauma patients, more surgery patients, but also, as you mentioned earlier, more hospitals are being built in our community because there's more population areas that are growing and hospitals popping up to service those populations. And all of that means that more blood donations are needed than ever before. So a really quick stat is that when you donate blood, you're donating mostly whole blood and it's broken down into usable components for different patient needs. Red cells, the need for that has grown almost 50% since 2017. For platelets, 75% since 2017. So the need is growing enormously. So for We Are Blood, that means we need to be doing an excellent job of getting the word out, inspiring community members, and then giving the community members accessible opportunities to donate. So that could mean additional mobile buses for more mobile drives, or new donor centers servicing different areas.
Is some of that demand and that increase in need, what is that driven by? Are you talking about population growth, or are you also talking about more blood transfusions are having to happen? I'm just curious, like, what is driving that demand?
I think it's a combination of both, because more population means more accidents, more people having surgeries performed in the community. So there's more opportunity for transfusions there. But then with additional hospitals, that also means more procedures being performed. And our current hospitals and new hospitals are creating new programs, cutting edge, amazing healthcare programs available here locally, which also many procedures like transplant procedures require transfusions to make possible.
Yeah, I liked what we talked about before the show was that I think people usually are more than happy to show up when there's a large trauma event or there's a natural disaster, right?
Sure.
Everyone knows that there's more blood transfusions that need to occur.
Right.
But can you tell us, for people that don't know, what are some of the cases and what are the reasons why we need to continue to donate blood every single day in the community?
Yeah, hundreds of blood transfusions are occurring daily in our community. And these are things that might not pop up on the news at all. You're talking about routine surgeries that require transfusions. You're talking about traumas and accidents that are occurring. You're talking about deliveries of babies that are happening where a mother might need a transfusion as a result of the outcome of that delivery. You're talking about cancer patients who are checking into their hospitals and receiving transfusions as a regular course of their treatment. So blood cancers, which prevent the healthy production of your own blood cells in your bone marrow, require blood transfusions. Or cancer patients who are receiving chemotherapy, their blood counts, particularly their platelet counts, might dip drastically through the course of their treatment. And so they're receiving transfusions just to be able to maintain a certain level of healthiness while they're navigating their cancer fight.
Okay. So really it could be anyone that needs a blood transfusion at some point in their life.
Absolutely.
Yeah. There is already a revenue model, and that's coming from the hospitals. So really it's blood donors and volunteers that can show up. And the beauty about a blood donor is it's universal. I know that you talked about this. No religion, no political background.
Yeah.
Anyone can donate, and you're donating to someone that you're never going to know or see.
Yeah, that's what I find so inspiring about working at We Are Blood. I've worked in nonprofits my entire career, but working in blood donation specifically, blood donors are coming from all different walks of life, and they're giving back blindly to someone who needs it. And how amazing is that? And how amazing is it to give people a sense of community when often it feels divided?
Absolutely. Yeah, especially in this climate. Okay, I'd love to pivot to stories.
Sure.
And I know that you have one or two stories to share with listeners about We Are Blood. Can you share those?
Yeah, sure. So if you follow us on our social media page or look at our YouTube, you're going to see dozens and dozens of testimonials from recipients, blood drive hosts, donors. But one that has always really stood out to me is an individual named Russell Duke, and he's our blood drive coordinator, meaning our point person at the company Applied Materials. He has been the point person for hosting blood drives there for over 20 years, and his inspiration is very personal. When he had his child, that child was born with neuroblastoma and did not live for very long, but lived for as long as the child did as a result of blood and platelet transfusions. And that was a tragedy that he had to endure very early in his life. Later, his wife passed away as a result of cancer. So this man has endured back-to-back tragedies through his life. But what he's done is that he's taken it and used it as motivation to inspire others to give back and create this life-saving gift that other patients can use. And that's incredible to be able to navigate through that tragedy and instead turn it into something positive where he can inspire others. So that's incredible to me and inspiring. But something else personal for me is something that I've actually experienced while working at We Are Blood. And that's that we do have to endure the needs of the blood supply through natural disasters. And unfortunately, in Central Texas, we're not unaccustomed to them because almost annually around January or February, we've been enduring a winter storm. And in 2021, it was the first and most severe of the winter storms that we've experienced in recent history. And it shut down our entire community for basically an entire week. People were without power. People were without heat. Freezing rain, impassable roads. It meant that We Are Blood too was shut down. We couldn't host mobile blood drives. We couldn't open up our donor centers. We couldn't welcome our staff or donors to these places.
Yeah, and I think everyone in Austin remembers that.
Yeah.
I actually don't know how far the reach was, but I know all the communities. And actually, I only had maybe 2 friends that their power didn't go out.
Right.
And I remember seeing fire trucks and ditches. We tried just going a little bit down the road because we did know someone with power, and like we could barely drive.
Yeah.
So in a time where you're just trying to keep yourself together, right?
Absolutely. So our organization too was crippled as a result of the storm, but we still had staff on site at our main donor center where our lab and inventory is, making deliveries to hospitals because transfusions were still needed at those hospitals that were operating on their own independent generators and treating patients. And so this was happening throughout that, but slowly but surely our inventory was dipping because we were unable to collect more donations. But when we were finally able to open up, and it was a Thursday, and we were only able to open up by noon because finally the roads were defrosting. The day before, we were calling donors who lived in the neighborhood surrounding our North Lamar Donor Center, and they were eager and willing, even though many of them continued to not have power or heat, to come out and give back. And that's amazing. That's amazing. And I guess that's almost a common thread between the story I shared about Russell Duke and this story too. It's people enduring their own hardships and giving back anyway. And that's pretty incredible.
Personally, for me, I have a hard time crying when there's something sad, but I just start bawling when I see community coming together.
Sure.
I know it's a silly thing, but I just feel like those moments where people show up is really beautiful. Like, I know this is going to sound so silly, but even the little things like when an ambulance is coming, everyone getting to the side of the road, to me, that's just a moment where I'm like, everyone's doing what's right now.
We're all in it together.
We're all
and it's showing
in it together.
That, right, yeah.
And I just really think it's a beautiful and profound thing. Yeah. And I love to hear that people showed up for We Are Blood in a time where I think most people were just trying to keep warm. And I remember milk for babies, right? Breast milk, and that was gold, right? And so I can't imagine even thinking some people probably out of mind to go and donate blood at that time. So that's so amazing that you were able to call people and they were able to walk over and go donate blood.
Yeah, there was even a father and son duo who came and donated together as a result of those neighborhood phone calls. And it's just very moving.
Yeah, so moving. I love that story. Okay, so one question that I always ask a guest that has nothing to do with We Are Blood and has everything to do with you, Nick, is I like for my guests to share a quote-unquote good brag in a world where everyone can naturally brag about how brilliant their children are, or maybe a car they're driving, or something that they bought, an outfit that they bought. I want to hear about something that you're proud of that you've done good recently. And that could be a small act of kindness or something with the community.
Yeah, for me personally, it is related to my daughter, who is 3.5. And something that I found very profound about parenthood that I did not expect is the joy I received from it. I was fully prepared going into parenthood for how much love I would have for my daughter and also how hard it would be. Everyone really talked a lot about how hard it would be. I did not know how much joy I personally would receive from it every single day with how confident and silly and fun it is to be a parent. And so that's really surprising and motivating to me. And I think we underplay how fun it is sometimes. And I was happy to discover.
Yeah. And I think that anyone that's a good, engaged, active, present parent, I think that's a huge good brag. Like everyone should brag about that because we unfortunately live in a world where we can't say that's the case across the board, right?
Sure, yeah.
And although we probably live in these bubbles where we see parents showing up every day, many of us do, it's hard.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, it's also really neat that my wife is very open with my daughter about where I work and what we do, and even at 3.5, it might be a little hard for her to understand, but she talks about it. She's like, I want to work at We Are Blood one day. Or she'll have a stuffy that she's playing with and plays doctor with and will say, he needs a blood transfusion, get another stuffy. And it's so fascinating that even at this age, they process this information. And that's really neat to have a job that you can say, oh, that's inspirational even to your little one.
Super adorable. When my son was 3, I was at UT. I was a student. And my son told someone's parents that moms go to school and dads go to work.
They pick up on everything.
They do. But that's super cute what your daughter does. I love that. It is exciting when you're able to come home and be very proud of the work you're doing. And what y'all are doing is really incredible.
Thank you.
Okay, so now let's switch gears. How can our listeners earn some good bragging rights?
Sure.
And I know that we've already talked about it, but again, I know you said 17 plus years old to donate blood, 115 plus pounds. If you hit that criteria, you can go donate blood.
So there are a bunch of other eligibility criteria. You go to our website, we have a really lengthy FAQ. But the important thing is that you don't need to spend any time doing that, because when you come to donate blood every single time, you do take a confidential self-administered questionnaire. And that questionnaire asks you questions related to travel, health history, like surgeries or medications you might be currently on. We want to make sure that every single individual is good to go to donate that day. So we have that eligibility process ahead of every donation, no matter how frequent you donate. And we also perform things like blood pressure, temperature, check your iron, all the things to make sure that you're healthy and good to donate that day. Something else I like to talk about with blood donation is how brief it actually is. The entire process is 45 minutes, and that means from the time you're checking in at registration to the time you're finishing your snacks and walking out the door.
That's a lunch break.
Exactly. And the only time spent donating in the bed is around 15 minutes. So this is a very small part of your day, but like I mentioned, it's making a huge difference for somebody out there.
What's the highest frequency that someone can show up and donate blood? Just curious.
Yeah. So most people think about donating whole blood. It's the most common procedure type that we collect, and you can donate that every 56 days. So basically you can donate blood every 2 months, which is a great hobby to get into. There's other procedures and types of donations that we have, like platelet donation, and that procedure is lengthier because it collects platelets, which are a very small component in your blood, but perform a really important task for you. They clot your blood when you're injured and prevent bruises or cuts from becoming life-threatening. That procedure is lengthier to collect only your platelets, and you can donate platelets every 7 days, actually, because it's a very special procedure. So there's different lengths, but most people think about whole blood, and that's every 2 months.
Okay, good to know. We did talk about hosting blood drives.
Yes.
Can you talk a little bit more about that? And then you said 100 blood drives per month. Can you dive into that a little bit?
Yeah, so I mentioned that We Are Blood serves Central Texas. And what that means is we're serving a 10-county service area. So you're talking about Williamson County, Travis County, Hayes County, all the surrounding counties, 2.5 million people living here. And when they need a transfusion, they're relying on people who donate at We Are Blood donor centers or mobile drives. That's a big service area. We have 4 brick and mortar donor centers. There's a lot of people who don't live in close proximity to those donor centers. And so we host mobile blood drives with these communities and interested people who have maybe a company they work at, a school they go to school at, a neighborhood, and they get in touch with We Are Blood and they say, hey, we would love to welcome you guys for a mobile drive. And that can either mean bringing a mobile drive bus, so we're parking in a parking lot with y'all, or setting up inside and we bring a trailer and equipment. So maybe you have a big gymnasium or you have a big meeting room. And our goal here is to make blood donation convenient and accessible to folks who don't find visiting our donor center very convenient for them. So it's a very important way that we engage with the community. I mentioned that we host upwards of 100 mobile drives a month. So every single day, there are actually multiple blood drives happening. Around 40% of the donations that we collect from mobile blood drives specifically. So it's a huge source of the way
You said 40%?
Yeah, 40%.
Okay.
So it's a huge source of the way that we collect donations is through these mobile blood drives. So you can visit our website, find an interactive schedule and map to find a location that's already there. But if you're inspired, you can get in touch with us and say, hey, I have a group of people that would be willing to do this. You're going to be put in touch with an account manager at our company, and they're going to walk you through all the criteria, do a site check with you, give you materials and posters to inspire your community, basically make it as turnkey as possible to have a successful blood drive.
What is the range of people that you'd like to show up for one of those blood drives?
Yeah, so at minimum, we like to see around 20 people come to these blood drives, but there are also companies that host huge blood drives, seeing upwards of hundreds of people.
And I did notice one statistic that I really liked. So high school student donors make up more than 12% of the We Are Blood donor population. I was really surprised by the number.
Yeah.
That's really cool to see.
Yeah, high school blood drives are pretty much our biggest blood drives throughout the year, and they're all clustered around the school semesters. So we experience actually shortages more often during the summer or holiday season because of the lack of those school drives. And in addition to the vital role that those blood drives play in actually the donations and the inventory and being able to supply hospitals, is really we're giving folks sometimes their very first experience with donating blood. And that first time experience, even if they don't become regular blood donors from that early age, sits with them. And some people that I talk to in our donor center that are at retirement age and donating more frequently now might say, I actually started donating in high school. And then when I had more time later in life, I remembered that experience and became more frequent donor. So you're really giving that first positive experience to individuals, and it's really cool to do.
I know this is a silly question. I would think some high school students and maybe even adults feel squeamish around blood.
Yeah.
Do you experience this a lot? Do you have people who are resistant? Or I'm just curious about what that usually looks like for you guys.
At high school specifically, I think that they want to do it because the rest of their friends are donating blood. And then also, admittedly so, you have a bit of an audience there who doesn't mind to miss class for a little bit to go donate.
Why not?
Yeah, by going to the blood drive. We do encounter individuals who might be a little fearful of donating. What I can say about that is really the experience is very painless. It's the prick of the needle just feels like a pinch, and the rest of the process, like I said, less than 15 minutes, and you barely even know that it's happening. But if you are too nervous to donate, there's really other great ways to give back.
Yeah, easy peasy. And the other ways to give back, of course, is volunteering.
Yes, yeah.
Tell us about that.
So We Are Blood does have a very robust and engaged volunteer program and community. We see them working upwards of 1,000 hours a month with We Are Blood, and they perform some really critical and fun tasks with our organization. One key role that they play is being a canteen volunteer. So at the end of your donation process, the last step is going to our canteen area, which is basically our recovery area where you're going to receive free snacks, cookies, crackers, refreshments. And you have a canteen volunteer in there ready to welcome you, engage you in conversation, make sure you're feeling well after your donation, and then thank you right before you carry on with the rest of the day. So there's a canteen volunteer at virtually all of our 4 donor centers and at some of our larger blood drives too. So it's a great way to pick up a shift, give back. There's not a minimum commitment to be able to become a We Are Blood volunteer. And so that's one important role. The other thing that we have very committed volunteers doing is transportation. So they are actually driving We Are Blood vehicles out to some of our satellite donor centers, meaning in Round Rock, Cedar Park, or South Austin, or mobile blood drives, which are pretty far out. And they're picking up donated blood in coolers that are ours and within We Are Blood vehicles and driving them back in time to our main donor center so that blood can be processed, tested, and stored safely in time. And so they're picking up shifts and driving all around Central Texas doing this. So it's a very special community of individuals who love to drive, have time on their hands, and maybe they like to give back or are looking for volunteer opportunity that they're not anxious to talk to people all day.
Okay. And for that, of course, you probably have to be, I think we talked 21 or older,
yes,
and probably have somewhat of a clean driving record. I'm sure there's some type of check.
Yeah. So for becoming a transportation volunteer, you can't expect a driver record check, and you would need to be 21 years or older. For canteen volunteering, you need to be 17 years or older. So we have high schoolers and early college kids who are doing that.
Great. Okay. I love that. Donate blood, volunteer, and of course, be aware of all these events by following your social media or signing up on your blood donor database, right? You can register.
Yeah, when you register at our website, you're going to start receiving a newsletter twice a month that tells you about upcoming blood drives, all the fun giveaways that we have going on. We like to work with local companies to give out fun, free vouchers for things for donors. You're talking about Torchy's Tacos, you're talking about Alamo Draft House. We like to keep it local because of being a local nonprofit, but we also have lots of fun swag, so custom t-shirts and hats and things like that our donors love. So that's a great way to start getting in the know and look for opportunities to donate.
Yeah, I've always told people there's so many ways that you can be also a little bit self-serving when you give back.
Yeah.
And if you get some swag or some Torchies, and kudos to Torchies and whoever else is giving
Yeah.
that out. I love those corporate partnerships as well. And I know the big thing is next year will be your 75th anniversary.
Yeah, so big milestone, 75th anniversary, having been founded in 1951. We're going to have celebrations throughout the year. We're looking at opening an additional donor center, onboarding new mobile blood drives. We're looking at special events, kid-focused events about teaching the science of blood donation. Maybe that's a little inspired by my own family experience. And then some ways to celebrate donors, celebrate recipients, celebrate our hospital partners. So there's going to be a lot of exciting stuff happening next year.
Oh, yeah. With those children, just get out some stuffed animals, right?
Yeah.
For the blood transfusions,
Exactly.
like your daughter.
Yeah.
So cute. Okay. Well, Nick, thank you so much. I really appreciate it and learned a lot. And thanks for everything that y'all are doing in our community.
Thanks for having me on and talking to me and sharing the news.
And that's our conversation with Nick Canedo from We Are Blood. What I love about this nonprofit is how uncomplicated showing up actually is. There's no guessing, no mystery, no 40-step process, no wandering around as a volunteer. You know exactly what you're supposed to be doing, and that is giving blood, well, also sometimes volunteering. If you want to help, you have options. If you want to donate blood, just go to weareblood.org. You heard it from Nick. It only takes 45 minutes, start to finish. Go take your lunch break and give blood. If donating isn't an option for you, they do have a strong volunteer program and you can sign up. Canteen volunteers, transportation volunteers, it's all really good stuff. And if you're the organized one in your group, you can host a blood drive. Schools, offices, neighborhoods, churches. And remember, a great opportunity to get a drive going is when schools aren't in session and they have a lower supply. Before we wrap, a big thank you to Nick for the conversation. And as always, a huge thank you to the people who make this show possible. Thank you to Nightlight Insurance Agency for your donation and for sponsoring Escape Into a Cause. Todd Thompson for editing and mixing every episode. Ashlynne O'Neal for digital content management. And Just Push Record Studios for giving us a home to record these conversations. Next week, we are escaping into Ronald McDonald House of Central Texas, the organization that keeps families close when their child is in the hospital, offering a place to stay, warm meals, and the support no parent should have to ask for. It's one of those nonprofits you think you understand until you hear what they do every day. In the meantime, go check your schedule. If you have 45 minutes, earn yourself some good bragging rights at weareblood.org, and we hope you join us next week as we escape into a cause.